So first, we'll just have some welcome and introductions, if we can. Go ahead, Anna, if you want to start here.
Anna Johnson, Turtle Mountain.
Lenore King, Sisseton Wapaton Oyate.
Sharon White Bear, MHA Nation, Arikara.
I'm John Strand with the City Commission of Fargo.
And then we also have someone on the phone. Heather, are you there?
Yep, I'm here. Heather Keeler, Ihontowan Nation, and Shoshone.
Okay, thank you. And then I see we have Rebecca is also coming. So we'll just give her a second to come here. You want to just go ahead and introduce yourself, or just at that point right now?
Yes, Rebecca Knutson with the Fargo School Board.
Okay. And then next, we'll just have an opening prayer. And I would like to ask you, Lenore, if you don't mind, just giving a prayer for us.
Okay. Thank you, Creator, for being with us today. Please guide us and make us get some good decisions and reach out to our community. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. And the next is approval of the agenda and the minutes. So if you have a chance to look at the agenda there, I have read the minutes.
I move approval.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Please call the roll.
Johnson,
Yes.
Keeler,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Knutson,
Yes.
Strand,
Yes.
White Bear.
Yes. Okay, then the next thing, we have some visitors here, and we have John and Susan from the FM Metropolitan Area Flood Risk Management Project. So if you'd like to go ahead and come up to the podium.
Good afternoon, folks. How you doing? I'm John Sobiek. I'm the lead biologist for the Fargo-Moorhead Flood Project with the Army Corps of Engineers.
And I'm Susan Malin-Boyce, and I'm the archaeologist for the project.
Welcome.
Thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
So we just have a few slides that we wanted to show you because about 2 years ago we were invited to speak to the commission, but we were unavoidably interrupted by some litigation, and so now it's 2 years later, and we'd like to familiarize you with the process that we've gone through for consultation under Section 106 of the National Historic Preservation Act for this project and our involvement of Native American tribes. On the first slide, you have an overview of what was undertaken, initiation for consultation with both the SHPOs and the 16 tribes that were interested in this project began in 2019 to 2011. And John, if you would switch to the second slide.
Sure. It was 2009 to 2011.
I'm sorry. Duh. So this indicates which tribes were involved and when they became involved, and the order that they're presented in is kind of the order that they were contacted in, and so we've kind of maintained that throughout the project. Okay, we can go back to the first slide. We can come back to this. And so in 2011, we executed a programmatic agreement with SHPOs and interested tribes and the Diversion Authority and the Corps of Engineers for the project and for how the archaeology would be prepared for the project, because the project was ill-defined in terms of its footprint, and a lot of decisions had to be made about what was going to be impacted and how much would have to be surveyed, and so we needed a way of outlining how we were going to address that work. It was amended in 2013. Between 2009 and 2017, we've performed Phase 1 and Phase 2 surveys and have surveyed over 33,000 acres, and the map on this slide in the black indicates all of the areas that were surveyed. Now, many of these areas are not part of the project footprint, and many other areas have been avoided because of cultural resources that we don't want to impact, because avoidance is our first course of action. In 2014, 15, and 16, we executed some memoranda of agreement for 2 archaeological sites and for an area of housing that had to be removed because it was in the path of the project. In 2017, we created a tracker so that we could get an overview of how many sites there were and what the kind of sites and distribution of sites were. We have over 462 entries in that. Many of them are ephemeral sites of isolated finds or very small debris scatters. And then in 2019, this year, just recently, we have resumed work on the cultural resources, and we have also resumed consultation with tribes. Second slide. Annually, or as close to annually as we can get when we have actual information to transmit, we have put together work summaries, and we have submitted those to the tribes in 2011, 12, 13. We spoke with them telephonically in 17 after the project came to a halt, and then we've brought them back up to speed again in 19 on April 9th or 19th, I think, we sent out letters. And the final slide. So moving forward, the path that's on the first map that's under phase 1, that's shown in yellow, is the actual channel, and the former path of the dam. In pale blue, it's the current realignment that was developed by the task force established by the 2 governors, the governor of Minnesota and of North Dakota. And the areas in red are the areas that will have to be surveyed for phase 1 and for TCP survey, for the traditional cultural properties survey for the new areas. And that work will probably commence this fall, but it will take several seasons, several field seasons in order to complete it. It's approximately 5,500 acres or something like that. Under the phase 2 areas, we have several areas that need additional testing. Most of the ones that are shown here, with the exception of one, the one that's kind of in the center on the channel, that one is an archaeological site. The rest of them are built environment. They're farmstead houses that are going to be impacted by the project. And then on the final map over there are the 2 sites that we will be addressing this summer. And we're having, the Corps of Engineers has contracted a group of contractors who will work with us on those sites. Those are the sites that have memoranda of agreement. And we will begin intensive testing of those sites within the next several weeks. We have a kickoff meeting with them next week, and so we wanted to let you know that this work is going to be going forward and that we will be continuing consultation accordingly. Are there any questions?
Does anyone have any questions? Rebecca?
I don't right now. Thank you for the information, the update.
We thank you very much for your time and your attention.
John? No. Lenore?
No questions, but thank you for being here.
Anna?
Yeah, no, I don't have any questions either, but thank you.
Thank you. I do have one question, I guess, this might be a dumb question, but what is that, SHPOs? What is that?
Oh, I'm
Minnesota
sorry. They're the State Historic Preservation Officers.
Preservation. Okay, I'm sorry, I just didn't.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I apologize.
I also don't have any questions. Thank you for coming. Sorry about being late.
And both Susan and I we're always available, so if any questions pop up or clear understanding of any of this information, we'd be happy to help anytime, so thank you.
Is your contact information here somewhere?
Wait,
Go ahead, Heather.
I have some questions.
We have one
Sorry.
person on the phone, so.
Sorry. So I jumped online and I can kind of see what you have on the presentation. And so I guess my questions, just because I'm learning about this process, but you said that there are like a phase 1 and you mentioned that there's like 462 sites that have remnants of something. Can you explain a little bit more of what that is? And is that like cultural pieces? Is there any spiritual blessing, or what are you guys doing to recognize and preserve the culture pieces through all of this?
Okay, so for phase 1 survey, which has, for the most part for this project, has been pedestrian walkover survey, which means that the artifacts that are identified have been found on the surface, on the ground surface. There has been very little ground disturbance on this project in the interest of the farmers and the fact that most of the land has been private property. And so to avoid takings, artifacts were never collected. Everything was left where it was. But they were documented, and so if artifacts were found on the surface, whether they were historic or whether they were earlier, they were documented and photographed, and site files were filed with those SHPO offices, with the State Historic Preservation offices. And that information contains location information and a description of what is found. And the SHPO has a way of classifying artifacts or finds on the surface. And it includes designations such as isolated finds. So for instance, maybe you find one particular flake of worked stone, or you find an isolated, piece of bone. Those finds are documented. So of those 462 sites that we've determined, many of those, the vast majority of those, are isolated finds. They are a single artifact, a single piece that someone has recognized, and it's been logged with SHPO. But it is not indicative of an archaeological site. It typically means that it was carried by a plow, or it was carried in a flood, an inundation. And so those sites, for the most part, are not things, we don't act upon those. The sites that we act upon are the ones where we can verify that there are remnants of the sites intact below the surface or above the surface if it's built environment. If it's a school, an old school, or an old foundation of a post office, that type of thing. Railway lines, there are various types of categories that are cultural, that can be historic properties. For archaeology, the below the ground material, we typically go to phase 2, which is an evaluation process where we do some digging to see if there are intact features, if there's any evidence that it was actually a campsite, or that there's information that we can work from. And then if that is the case, then we go to phase 3, which is mitigation. And the mitigation measures, the first and most important mitigation measure is avoidance. And so we've avoided as many sites as we can possibly avoid. And of the sites that we have discovered so far, there are only 2 that we could not avoid. And those 2 sites will be further explored, and if they are intact and below the surface, they will be excavated because they would otherwise be destroyed. And then that recovery is called a data recovery, and the data recovery plan, is formulated with the participation of the tribes via the SHPO, or the TIPOs, the Tribal Historic Preservation Officers that your tribes have. And so there is participation in that process.
Do you have anything else,
Okay,
Heather?
great. Thank you.
Okay, I do have one question then, when you talk about that. So it does say that, there's evidence of all these tribes that may have been anywhere. At what point do you call one of these tribes or indicate to them when you found something that it's, we found something and we believe it's from this tribe, or?
So our position is that all of the tribes that are on, if you go to the
list,
slide,
yep.
are the interested parties for this project. And when we find something, we notify them all.
Okay.
And we do that typically in letters, and we also do it in emails. We follow up with phone calls occasionally. And the TIPOs who have our numbers, they frequently call us back. We have a deeper conversation about things. Very frequently, some tribes will defer to other tribes. They will say that, they're interested in being informed in terms of what's going on, but they defer, for instance, to the Sisseton Wahpeton. And so then we work more closely with them.
Okay. Sure, go ahead, Chelsea.
So as I'm looking through the information, I really appreciate the background work that you have been doing since, I believe it was 2009. The consultations began with the tribal entities. My question is, for phase 3, the getting involved section, have you thought about contacting the tribal colleges in the Midwest region to see if their programs would be willing to work with you on that, to do the excavation, to bring tribal students and membership from our rural tribal entities here. I know that there are opportunities, even probably with NDSU, for you to reach out and actually work with Native American students. But if you're interested, I have the contact information for all the tribal colleges in Minnesota and North Dakota, and I really appreciate the steps that you're following. And if there's anything else that I myself or we as a commission can do, we're here. So thank you.
Very good, and I thank you very much, and I will be reaching out to you.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We can shut this down or something.
Okay, the next thing on our agenda is Rick Call from the Indigenous Garden Orchard Project.
I guess it's good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Sure.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And I'm Laura Youngbird.
I was just going to introduce...
And Laura, go ahead. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, I was just going to introduce members of the Indigenous Community Circle. Lenore is a member, and by implication, you're all members, but Laura's been part of the planning process and host community. We have been organizing for about the last 2 years with the guidance of Lemoyne Lapointe, who is an elder from Rosebud, but he took us through a 4-part process, planning process, to identify issues and so forth in the community. And we zeroed in on a couple, and one was Indigenous food, sustainability, and sovereignty. So this project relates to a proposal that we submitted to the North Dakota Department of Agriculture. Do you want to say anything more, Laura, about the gardening and the possibilities?
Well, I haven't been to a lot of meetings lately, so I don't have a lot, but there's several sites in talking with Rick, and one of them is at the Plains Art Museum as a possibility, and we've had some other areas that were identified but might not work, like the Gladys Ray shelter, because they use that area for get-togethers and they congregate there before the center opens. But we do have a lot of gardens at the museum and would love to be involved in that as well. I also represent the museum. So, they'll be dispersed, and so people will have access to them and hopefully get involved in planting as well. And Rick did a lot of work getting this grant from the agriculture department, and I'll let him, I don't know a whole lot of the details, sorry.
You don't have to be sorry. I don't know a whole lot about this either, so let's go, Rick.
Okay, so I'm just trying to find the right thing here. Is it right-click? Okay, I think maybe we're getting, okay, great. So I should mention that first we got started with a grant from Honor the Earth, and there we identified a project called iFit, and it's Indigenous Food Initiative Team. And so the idea of the community circle is that eventually we'll have initiative teams on a lot of different topics. So the Indigenous food topic is the iFit project. And we like that acronym because Ruth Buffalo started out with some diabetes prevention programs. So this really relates to the whole issue of health, Indigenous health, and nutrition, obesity, diabetes, and all of the wonderful background of indigenous knowledge that can be brought to bear on these things, as well as some of the other things other vegetables and fruits and things that we've brought along with us. So we're trying to focus a lot on native plants. So this is I think you got a paper copy of this, and I'm just going to go through. I wanted to create a really pretty PowerPoint, but we'll have to stick with this for now, and then we'll come back and impress you later with our technical capabilities and artistic abilities.
We'll need Anna's help.
So basically, the iFit team focuses at the intersection of health, food, ecology, and indigenous lifeways. And I've kind of highlighted in green or blue or orange some of the things. There are really some very good individual Native American gardeners in the area, but there's not a whole lot of organized community gardening and training efforts to increase participation of Native families. And so we wanted to see what we could do with that. We're also interested, we don't know everything, so you may know of some people who are doing some great things on their own. And basically, we wanted to really work with a few families so that they might be interested in upscaling to market farms. And because there's a lot of actual funding available for new farmers to start their own farms. But they have to have 3 years of receipts and accounting. And if they have that for at least $1,000 a year, they can apply for FSA loans to start their new farms. And so there is a project here that's focusing a lot on new Americans that has created an incubator farm to help those farmers come up with their 3 years of receipts and farming experience in this area, this climate. But there are no indigenous incubator farms around. And so we really like to see if we could help some people get up to speed so that they could actually establish their own farms and market garden projects. So basically focusing on native foods, medicinal plants, vegetables, and fruit, we think that we can affect health, make some changes. We are aware of the modest nature of our efforts, so we have to kind of scale back expectations, but we're getting a little bit of a slow start because of the late season, but we're plowing ahead, and we need all the help we can get from all of you. There are a couple of different models: the growing together communal model, or individual plots, or a combination. And I think we'll probably go for a combination. And we will establish some teaching plots so we can demonstrate some of the best practices for growing, and then do some experimental plots. I don't know if some of you know Jake, but he did some research out at the Probstfield farm last couple seasons on Three Sisters growing and different techniques that he was able to bring in. And we need to get his final report or something on that, because I'm sure it's really interesting. We did not get funded for a movable high tunnel, which we wanted to extend the seasons and demonstrate that, but I think we could add that in the future if we have a large enough plot of land. The idea is to do educational activities that will be planned by a core group. We have some examples of indigenous food projects. The Dream of Wild Health Farm in Hugo, Minnesota is a 10-acre organic farm. There's a farm out at Bismarck called the Dragonfly garden at the United Tribes Technical College. And there's other examples, for example, up at White Earth, of food and agriculture projects and natural resource projects that they have done up there. And we're hoping with White Earth, we're planning a summer institute on basically restoring the native ecology with an indigenous arts and sciences approach. But that's a kind of a future project. So I'll just go quickly because I'm probably using up too much time. So basically, there were about 4 sites actually that are being explored. And what we would want from you, one of the things that we would like from you is your continued help in identifying, making some of these sites possible, or identifying others that would better suit the project. So one that has been mentioned is the Sweat Lodge, and I know that we've talked with Guy about the possibility that that could be a future project and that we get started on some other sites now, because there's a lot of complications with that site. Another site is the Romanus Park, which also has its own set of complications, but part of the original design was always to have an orchard there. And Nicole Crutchfield has suggested that that might be a really good place. And then the Unicorn Madison School site and the Gladys Ray Shelter. And this is the most recent site to be explored, and we're still exploring there. I think we've made a commitment to at least a partial teaching garden there. The space isn't quite big enough for 18 fruit trees. So we're going to have to continue to find another site, but we definitely can use some of the resources there. For example, we've already bought about $300 worth of bedding plants from Legacy Gardens, and they gave them to us for $100. And I think now, after this next weekend, we can probably go back and get a lot of free donations. So, we can spread this project around to any of the other projects that might be in existence. Just quickly, some of the plants besides vegetables, we were looking at 8 apple trees, 6 crab apples, chokecherries, plum, 8 plums, juneberry, honeyberry, chokeberry, raspberry, and strawberry plants. And then these are some of the partners that we listed. We don't necessarily have agreements with all of these partners, but that was part of the startup phase, is that we developed the relationships. We'd make the road by walking is one of the ways we're operating. So you can see the various ones we've mentioned there. All of these projects either have to do with the natural environment or agriculture and food. And the original dialogues the community circle dialogues that we did with Lemoyne LaPointe were part of this Barbara Snyder Foundation crisis intervention. So we paid nothing for that. We think we need Lemoyne to come back and help us keep the process going. So having a little trouble with this mouse. I'm an Apple person.
Me too.
So funding. So this is a brainstormed list also. There's no commitments on the part of anybody here except Honor the Earth has funded this, and I think we'll again if we can show some results. So there's a number of places right locally that we can go to, and then there's a lot of national funds, some of them specifically focused for Indigenous people and on Indigenous or Native-led organizations. So we will look to those sources in communication with other projects that you might have in mind, so we don't, go stepping on each other's feet and so forth. Yeah, and we hope that this project will eventually be integrated into plans for Native American Center in Fargo. In terms of what else you could do, first of all, I think what we really need is official acknowledgement of the project and kind of a blessing from you, and also assistance in continuing to explore sites and to possibly contribute some funding. So I put in blue here, or that funding and in-kind services. Like, I don't know if Guy has equipment small enough to help with a garden, but we could explore whether he could do some of our land preparation or delivering mulch in a truck or delivering the trees or whatever that might be on this list. And then, you know, I'm sure there's the movable high tunnel dream is going to need some funding too. So I think maybe I should be quiet and have you ask questions.
I'm going to just start with what is your specific things that you're here to ask us for, to start with? You want to have us acknowledge the project, and is that in the form of a letter, or what is that you want?
I don't know if we necessarily, it'd probably be good to have it on paper in a letter, but to, you know, you would know more of the, you know, community things that are happening and might know of other sites than what we've proposed.
Okay.
And, you know, if somebody on, you know, the city or the commission could even like pitch in and help, or if they're interested, you know, volunteering,
Okay.
that sort
And
of
then-
thing. And maybe some funding too would be.
Okay, and that is how much, or what is that you're looking for? Do you have a proposal for that, or did you send in any kind of a ask for that, or?
We have not, but
Okay.
this is the list here where we could use more funds.
Okay. So,
You know, and
yep, what I like to do is, I think I'm going to call on Lenore, because it sounds like she's been working with that project with you, and then she may know some of the things, but from then on, we'll try to have some communication about the meetings and that, so that we can see what's on here that we could probably go forward with. But right now, I'll just ask Lenore first, and then, go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. At our next meeting, we'll let you know and invite you, and we invite you, your families, friends, everybody to be a part of this, you know, so it's gonna be fun, and it's gonna be really, really educational.
When is that next meeting, do you know?
I do not know. I think we're going to, with our smaller group, try to establish a weekly rhythm of meetings. So one will be a kind of planning meeting, and another will be a work meeting, or a combination of both.
Okay. Anna, do you have any questions for them?
I have lots of questions, but I don't think I have any right now at this moment.
All right, thank you. Rebecca?
It sounds like a fabulous project. I suppose what we would need to do, just thinking about, you know, officially showing our support, would potentially be a motion of some sort to officially show just kind of general support of the project. And then I would imagine in terms of any funding, we would need some official requests, right? That's similar to what other organizations follow. So for you to work to prioritize that for us would be beneficial. Thank you very much for being here and sharing.
John? No? Chelsea?
First off, again, thank you guys so much for being here. I think this project is amazing, and I myself am fascinated by ethnobotany, specifically Indigenous ethnobotany. I think it's really important. The questions that I have, real quick, are, so have you been awarded the grant funding that's been proposed to the U.S.? Okay, so you do have the $7,500?
No, we were awarded $4,500.
Okay, $4,500. What was the award or time length for that grant?
I think the North Dakota Department of Agriculture is expecting that by next June, we will have expended all of the funds.
Okay, and then, so you are absolutely 100% planting now?
Yes.
Okay,
And have the plants. a lot
Right
of them.
on.
Some-
Yeah, I think that future funding depends on us being successful, even in a modified design for this year.
and when you were talking about some of the people that you'd like to reach out to, have you talked to the Fargo Community Development Commission or the Planning Commission?
Yes.
Okay, and then I know you talked about connecting with White Earth, but I'd really like to connect you with the ACO in Duluth, the American Indian Community Housing Organization. They have a sustainability and food sovereignty program, and they actually opened up the, Niwen Indigenous Foods Market, and it's all supplied by growers of...
It's in Duluth, correct?
Yep, it's in Duluth, and all of the money goes back to benefit the American Indian Community Housing Organization. So it's kind of the holistic, I see a lot of similarities, and they have their 2-year plan, their 5-year plan that I know that they would be willing to share with you. So I'll definitely connect afterwards. My question is, if we can't get the property for the trees and we can't get, because it is such a short time frame, is there something like maybe the Rural Arts Commission or the Fargo Parks District where you could work with them just to plant in individual spaces, maybe even in front of like the Plains Art Museum or somewhere downtown?
Well, that is one location.
Sweet.
Yeah.
But
And we have the
just-
Heritage Garden too, that we might be able to put fruit trees, but we can't put vegetable gardens in.
Well, if you're interested, I have some property in West Fargo. I'd be more than happy to house a couple of your fruit trees. And access to my backyard is fine as long as you're okay with dogs. But I'll connect with you guys afterwards, and I just want to say I really appreciate it.
An idea too, thank you.
I'd like to see this project be sustainable throughout the FM area. And I think that given a year's worth of planning and a little bit of the pilot programming here, I think next year will be so much bigger and so much better with the involvement of so many more organizations. So congratulations, keep going forward, and I'm really proud to say that I get to be a part of the community that's doing this. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right at this moment, does anyone want to entertain a motion in support of the project?
I will introduce a motion in support of the project.
Of this, okay. Or the community orchard and garden project?
Yeah, the
Okay.
community garden and orchard project. I motion for.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Go ahead.
I would like to say before we do the support, because I know we're all in support of this, that we have something from the ICC and this project stating what their expectations are and how the NAC can actually support them. So that way when we make this motion, we know what our responsibilities are and how we can help you. And so I would make a motion that we table it until July, but verbally you have my support and whoever else's support. That would be my suggestion.
Is there any other discussion?
That might be a problem as far as planting goes, but
Okay.
Well,
we
at
had
this,
with what we have, but.
yeah. So do we want to go ahead with this motion? We need to just, I guess, call the roll. Right.
Madam Chair, let's.
Sure, just a minute.
You have an amendment that hasn't been seconded yet.
Okay.
And if it isn't seconded, then you go forward. If it's seconded, then you vote on the amendment.
So
So this,
The amendment is to delay.
could we have a little bit more conversation on it?
absolutely, I think that would be a good idea.
So because,
Well, then,
the motion also could be withdrawn, but at the same point, that doesn't sound very good. But I understand the potential reasoning for wanting to wait. At the same point, I personally would be comfortable in supporting the motion, just from a general standpoint, with the understanding that, I guess if I would agree to that, that doesn't mean that I would be agreeing to any specific financial support or any specific action from the commission. That doesn't mean that we wouldn't be taking some officially at some point, but just a general acknowledgement in basically the philosophy and the idea of the project for our community.
so if I'm correct, can I just table that motion, the first motion?
Make an amendment.
I can just ask to make the amendment first.
You have to have a second.
We have a motion on the table and we have an amendment. So I would call for a second for the amendment, see if it dies to a lack of second, or if it gets seconded, and then you vote on the amendment, if there's a
I
second.
will second. I'll second the amendment with Chelsea's statement that I would agree that it's great information that we gained, and I love that this is happening in the community. But as far as like any sort of official buy-in, I would like to see more of the financial requests and some sort of partnership built. So I second the tabling until July.
Okay, what I'm going to do is ask if there's a second to the amendment in which Heather acknowledged that. So I want to table the First Amendment.
No, Madam Chair, you just go
vote.
to a vote on the
That one.
amendment,
Okay,
which
gotcha.
effectively tables it.
Okay,
So she has moved to table this to July,
to July.
essentially.
Oh, that's right, you
And
added
it's
that part of the
keep
amendment.
it that-
Okay.
And if that, so it's not really an amendment, it's a motion to table. So
Okay.
if we decide to table with pass it, then it's off the agenda, we're
Mm-hmm.
done with it for
It
today.
automatically gets added to the July agenda then.
Okay, so we call the roll, I guess, for the amendment, for the thing with the, just a
Motion to
minute.
table.
I'm sorry, I'm new to Robert's rules, and so I apologize for taking up everybody's time, but I would be comfortable saying that we would vote to support with no clear identifiable goals. So we could support, but still request next month that you come back with possibly a partnership agreement or something like that. Because if you guys are planting and you'd like the support of the commission, I think that, I know I would like to be involved in that. I just don't want to commit to anything without having full knowledge of what we're committing to. So without commitment, I think, can we do how would I do that, John? How can we say that?
Madam Chair, then what you'd do, Chelsea, is withdraw your motion to table.
I withdraw my motion to table.
And Heather then needs to approve that, withdraw her second.
Did you hear that, Heather? Would you withdraw your second?
Yeah,
Okay,
So now
I
you're back.
guess.
now you're
You know,
back to
I think
Ann.
it's confusing there. It's even more confusing on the phone. So
Okay.
I
if you withdraw, we're going to continue on and we'll have something else here, just a second. So we go back to Anna,
So I have,
original.
so then we're in discussion on that, on Anna's motion. And so,
Right.
Anna, you could maybe further describe what you mean by your motion, because I feel like
Sure.
we're a little bit concerned about, now, like, for example, if the motion doesn't pass, does that hold up the process that you have going forth right now? I don't see it does, because I see that in a motion of general support, again, we're not agreeing to any specifics. We're not agreeing to planting at a
Or
certain.
any financial,
No,
yeah.
nothing at all. We're just, again, my thought in supporting it would be, again, agreeing to the general principle of it with the idea that further requests are going to come, the specifics will come down the road. So, Anna, but if you could provide that clarification for us.
Yes, all of those things that you just said. Yeah, so should I just say the motion again? So I motion for our support for their cause without any commitments until they've provided the proper paperwork. I mean,
The proper information. Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion, sorry. Got the temptations in my heart.
Okay, please call the roll. Is that correct?
It's getting there. It's a little,
Okay,
And
so the
you-
motion is
Madam
to-
Chair, you can
go
just
ahead.
call for yeas and nays. It doesn't need to be a roll call vote necessarily, unless it's financial probably.
Okay,
So all those in
all
favor?
those in favor, yep.
yes.
yes.
Any opposed? Okay, we will be, you know what we expect now, and so that motion will pass, that we will support you until we get further information.
Kind of be like our cheerleaders.
Thank you.
Could I ask one question, since I see Nicole has come into the room? Do you think the city needs any specific action from the commission?
No, not at this point. I think so maybe a little bit more from the staff perspective. the three city sites that have been suggested to look at, quite honestly requires a lot more discussion. Each of those three sites have management and oversight by different departments. And so unfortunately, it's not a centralized kind of process. And so since our work plan is established, trying to kind of change into our work plan to get working this summer. The North Dakota Agriculture did call me to confirm our current status, and him being a government official understood and was very receptive and patient on understanding our status. He did confirm that it does go through May 2020 for funding. But he also said if we're not ready to plant, then maybe we should have more discussions with the state. So that's kind of where we're at the staff level. We'd love to be able to drop everything and work on this right now, but it's we're still recovering from the flood, and so and kind of a crazy spring. So so that's where we're at the staff level. We absolutely support this project in spirit and want to work on it. It's kind of on our list of things to work on, and we'll get on it as soon as we can. And we're coordinating amongst the different departments. And so. And I don't know, Rick, if you've talked with, Ben Dow would be the oversight of the Sweat Lodge. Jan Eliason would be the oversight of the Gladys Ray, and the Parks District and the Planning Department in conjunction together would be the oversight of the Fargo project site. So those are the three different organizations that would be part of that process, and they all have their formal approval process and hearings.
Okay, thank you. Does that answer your question? If you can get together with Nicole, if you have any other questions for her, please. Thank you.
Yeah, and we welcome any input that any of you would have off the record.
And this is not on the same subject, but we have a women's exhibit at the Plains Art Museum with 25 amazing Native American women, and Anna is one of our participants. We have a talk June 18th, a women's panel that'll be moderated by Jessica Metcalf, who's also, she's in the exhibit as well, but she's a scholar and just really interesting person to listen to. And then we have an opening July, did I say June? July, both of these are July. And I have some cards with the information, and I'll leave them with you.
If you just want to leave those with us.
Yes.
And then they have the date and everything. Just say the time. I know you said July 18th, but just say the time so that we know.
Well,
go ahead and just leave those papers with us.
Okay, I think it's
Otherwise,
6,
you can come back up here when we have the public comment if you have more on that, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is a sponsorship request from the FM Native Stand. Can you please come on up? Go ahead and introduce yourselves. Welcome.
Greetings, Commissioners. Hi, my name is Zach Pacino, MHA Nation, Hidatsa Arikara, Santa Clara Pueblo, here in Fargo, North Dakota.
Good afternoon. My name is Vanessa Tibbetts, and I'm Oglala Lakota, originally from South Dakota.
Thanks again for allowing us to come before you. I just want to acknowledge the first funding request that you approved earlier this year for the Native Stand event that we're hosting through the American Indian Public Health Resource Center in the Department of Public Health at NDSU. That request, as well as a donation from the FM Crossroads organization, had gone to space and printing fees related to our programming that was coming up June 10th through the 14th next week at NDSU. And Native Stand is a health education program designed for American Indian youth ages 14 to 18 to help them make better decisions related to their health and positive outcomes to impact their lives. The curriculum will be facilitated by myself and Vanessa, so it's by Native American people for Native American people. And in Native Stand, we'll talk about pregnancy prevention, STI, HIV, AIDS prevention, goal setting, communication skills, healthy relationships, also drug and alcohol prevention, commercial tobacco prevention, and mental health. The Native Stand curriculum is a research project through Indian Health Services Portland area, so there is a strict IRB process that has been implemented with this as well. There is a pre-test and a post-test for the participants to take. That information is all confidential and anonymous, and it cannot be traced back to any participant. And that information is sent back to IHS Portland area as well. The event itself is going to run next week, Monday through Friday. We have a short schedule on Monday and Fridays from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we have a longer day from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We provide transportation for the participants, and the funding request that we submitted the second time for $1,500 will go towards meals and incentives for program participants. What we've budgeted for was for catered meals through NDSU Monday through Friday, around $250 each day for roughly 13 to 17 people. That would be 8 to 12 youth participants and then 5 volunteers and staff members. And then the remaining $250 would go towards incentives for youth, and what that would be body care items, so like body wash, lotion, shaving cream, potentially like feminine hygiene products as well for participants. Any remaining funds would go towards a second program which we would host sometime next year for Fargo-Moorhead area youth. Yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions for you as well.
And if you guys know any youth, Native youth between the ages of 14 and 18, send them our way. We're still accepting registrants and applicants.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Rebecca?
I assume in terms of promoting the Native Stand event, you worked with the schools in our area?
Yeah.
Okay.
A large number of our participants that we have confirmed have come from the school system, yes.
Great. Thank you. I don't have any other questions. This is fabulous. Thank you.
John?
My questions would be, I know that with the Internal Review Board protocol and procedure, you might not be able to share that data with us, but after the programming in July, would you be able to come back and kind of give us an overview of how the programming went, the intention to kind of further it next year, and the programming that you plan on doing in the future?
Definitely. I think we could definitely share our thoughts and what we would expect in the future.
And if there are any Native students who are attending this program, if they would be willing to come with you and share their experience and their knowledge, I think that's something that we'd love to hear. For the $15,000, if we had to go bare minimum, if you had to cut, what could we fund from this $1,500? It's been one of those days.
We'll take that too.
Yeah, I'll give it all. No, but if we had to cut to the bare minimum or lower this amount, what amount would you be able to kind of function with?
Yeah, I think what we could go without is we could max it out at $1,000, which would cover a good portion of the meals for participants.
Okay. And then, yeah, I just, again, want to thank you. I think sexual health is really important, and I think that, especially in Native country, we need to be able to say, our bodies are important, and our sexual health is important, and our children deserve to know that. So thank you guys for doing this. Fully support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lenore, do you have any questions?
I have no questions, but it's a really good job you're doing.
Anna?
No questions.
Well, I thank you for coming here, and I think that, is this the same project we did allow $500 to, we voted for last year, so, and I think when we were having our meeting, we suggested $750 is what we had voted on, and said that we would be willing to add to that $750. Is that correct? I think that's what it was. So on your proposal, sponsorship application, that's what we could do,
All
is
right.
$750.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And so,
Do we need
we need to vote
a
upon
motion
that.
for that?
Yes.
Okay, I'd move that we approve an additional $750 sponsorship for the 2019 Native Stand program.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay. Call the roll, please.
Keeler?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Knudsen?
Yes.
Strand,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yep.
Wiper.
Yes. So, and then thank you, because I know this is a really important thing, and so,
Thank you, guys.
thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
That motion passes. And then the marathon summary, do you have a little update, maybe just a couple minutes? Because I have a feeling we're going to run over our time, so just give us a brief minute.
I'll do it in 55 seconds. So we had some awesome support turnout. We had 2 different drum groups, and I specifically want to thank Guy Fox and FM Crossroads Organization for sponsoring the drum groups, and for also pulling through and singing. We had the runners that were coming by, and in the morning it was raining. It was raining all day in 42-degree weather. I have the blue lips in the picture to prove it. But we cheered them on, and we had runners of all ethnicities come through and really say how much they appreciated it and how much they look forward to it every year. And that cadence gets them through that, 24 miles? 26. See, I don't run, but it's 26 miles. So that was really amazing. If you'd like to check out our NAC Facebook page, you can actually see the cadence of the runners changing. And so being able to share that medicine with our wide community and have them really truly understand it and appreciate it was amazing. So it was a great event. We were super cold, and next year we will not grill next to the runners, because apparently that is not something that they appreciate at 24 miles along, is the reminder that there's some food. So I really appreciated it. We had community support, Sandy Berlin, we had Bluesy Kamal, we had Henry Gipp, and then of course our commissioners that showed up. So it was a great event, pulled off in the cold and the rain, and I might not have been wearing my name tag, but I had my Sasquatch hat on. So it was a good event, and I think we all really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Chelsea.
Yes, ma'am.
And then in the essence of time, I think if I can table the strategic planning next steps to the next meeting. I know there's a lot of discussion for that, so I'd like to do that. And is there any public comment? Please come up. You have a couple of minutes to state your public comment. Thank you.
Hi, I just wanted to introduce myself actually. My name's Natasha Rausch. I'm a reporter with the Forum of Fargo-Moorhead. I'm going to be out here for the next year reporting on Native American issues. I'm actually part of a program called Report for America, in which they sent 60 reporters to newsrooms across the country to kind of fill in gaps as local newsrooms have shrunk. And so I met with Chelsea yesterday and have spoken with several other people like Ruth Buffalo, and I'm just trying to get my bearings in the community here in North Dakota and Minnesota, and would love to speak with each of you at some point, and I'm looking forward to this next year.
Thank you very much.
Before you step down, contact information?
Yeah.
Can I ask that some? Oh, yeah. Okay. Sorry. I think I'm on a delay, but that's what I was going to ask too. I would really like to get in contact with you. I work on the Moorhead side, so if somebody can just make sure they get me her contact information, that would be great.
I got you.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want me to just say it? Okay. You can reach me at my phone number. I'll just give you my cell phone. It's area code 513-846-0038. And my email is my first initial N, last name Rausch, R-A-U-S-C-H, at forum, F-O-R-U-M, com.com.
Okay. Do you have a card or anything?
I just started on Monday, so they haven't made them yet.
If you want to just want to write that down, and then we'll give that to, so we can put it on our page or our website or whatever, if somebody wants to contact you from there. Can we do that?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome, Natasha. Okay, are there any announcements?
Oh, I think we had one more.
Okay, go ahead, one more public comment. Sorry, go ahead, come on up.
Super interested. The sunglasses got me.
Hello, my name is Jeremy Train. I'm the residential program director of Share House here in Fargo.
Cody Severson, program aide at Share House as well.
So we were just, thank you for your time, first of all. Just kind of to inform you, in case if some of you are not familiar with Share House, What Share House is it's a residential and outpatient substance use disorder treatment facilities. We actually have 3 of them here in town. We also serve people with mental health disorders, but primarily it's the substance use disorder that we serve. We serve clients throughout the entire state of North Dakota and Minnesota, and at any given time, approximately 30 to upwards of 50% of our clientele have identified as Native Americans. And so as kind of a continued pursuit of looking into how we can better serve our clients, we're actually here today to ask for your help by way of any supportive services. Specifically, what we are looking at is someone to come into our residential facilities and facilitate talking circles, possibly. But then kind of a even possible bigger request would be to somehow find a way of where we could have a sweat that's gender specific. We have men and women in our facilities, and actually several of the women Native Americans have actually specifically requested for those services. So that's essentially about the extent of our request today.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for them? Go ahead, Chelsea.
It's always me. I
would really like for them, I would really like for them to come back and actually do a presentation of their services. If I know July is getting full, and I don't know when the talking circles are starting, but that would be, I think it sounds like an amazing program, and I love the cultural components, and so that would be my only suggestion, is if we could get them on an agenda to come in and do a presentation.
Okay, thank you, Heather.
I'd be honored.
As far as sweat, until you're able to kind of cultivate your own, the city of Fargo actually has a sweat lodge. So we do have female and male specific, depending on which one it is. And there's a process to reserve it, a process to request. And I know that we can forward you that information so that you can provide those services for your patients that are in treatment right now. It might not be directly with your program, but it is a collaboration, and it's access to that. So we can definitely work something. I forward that information and kind of go through the process of that. And then as far as facilitating the talking circles and the data and information that you're seeing in your clinic, have you talked to the NDSU Division of American Indian Public Health?
No.
The 2 individuals that were in here, I can pass you Zach's card and Vanessa's information. I would definitely connect with them as well. So that would be my suggestion, and if I can get your contact afterwards, we can visit.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Do you have any questions, Lenore?
No questions.
No, I don't have any questions right now.
Okay, well then that's what I'll ask you to do, is connect with Chelsea so that you can bring this, either set up a time to bring this back and get information. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, the next thing, I do have a couple of announcements myself. There's a couple things that we would like to, if you want to participate in. The Rape and Abuse Crisis Center, Greg Lemke they're having their bystander training, and he came and he presented here, and that's on June 12th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the YWCA. And then also there's another thing coming out that's it's called Expert Witness, and this has to do with ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act, and this is a training, and what they're looking for as expert witness is someone who goes and is kind of a neutral person, but to help in the child welfare for the children when there's a discrepancy or they're using the Child Welfare Act, so you can help them with that. And they're also having a training, and it's 2 days, June 20th and 21st. On June 20th, it's from 1 to 4, and on June 21st, it's 9 to 4. And I have Jesse's information here, so that if anybody would like to do that, I can give you her number, and then there's a little process before that needs to be done if you want to attend that training, and that is also free. So those are 2 important things I think we could do. That's all I have for announcements. Does anyone else have an announcement? Go ahead, John.
I have a question. Is the police picnic on our radar?
Okay, I'll, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering about the same thing. I think we should be involved with that.
I think we're short volunteers, is my guess, for the tables, or no?
What
Maybe
is
not?
what is the date
It's the 18th of June.
of this month?
Yep. Yep. Well, what's happened so far is the planning committee has contacted me to say that they withdrew our registration because of there was no organization yet, and no one had started that. And one of the things I know is that we don't usually have a big organization for that because we don't give out anything except for our flyers, which we could make right now. And then also we sponsor like the drums, and then if we have dancers that we also sponsor. And then my understanding is that the police also had a discussion where they decided that they have the dancers and the drums as part of their program, so that we would not have to be there, but they would still expect us to, not the police, but the city would expect us to sponsor that drum and those dancers. And so it was more for that, but nobody, the one thing I guess is we don't usually have the city people there, but because it's usually been us anyway. We set it up, we set up the table. The only thing we do is buy something candy to hand out or whatever, but you know, that's just something we started doing, and no, we didn't ask anything for that. So, but at this time, I had sent a message back to the planning committee and let them know that we wouldn't be doing it. And I had talked to Chelsea and to Lenore at that time, and we decided to try to concentrate on whatever the next thing is. But then I know that there's people that want to speak to this because they felt differently. So if anybody wants to have a comment, you can go ahead.
Yeah, and if I can ask, John, so this is,
sure.
Commissioner, so this was led by communication I had with both our chair of our HRC, our Human Relations, and chair of our Native American Commission, Commissioner White Bear, and basically at the staff level with Kara's last day yesterday or 2 days ago, and Catlin, we had, and Catlin's going to be out of town, so just even organizing the schedule for volunteers. And so I just, you know, I kind of put it out as a formal memo to Sharon and Barry to take a look at and to see if they're okay with this. I think that was a little bit misunderstood that I had jumped the gun. The police department would be very open to still having a table there. And so if you guys want to staff it and be at the police picnic, I know several members of both the Human Relations Commission and the Native American Commission also are there for other organizations. And so, but really, at the main point, staff can't support this, and with the Human Relations Commission, we don't even have display materials, and so it's kind of as we evaluate where our time and energy is for, you know, again, coordinating for the police or for the community picnic, or starting to plan for Indigenous Peoples Day, that's where staff is needing to spend some time. So.
Go ahead, John.
No, I'm fine.
Anyone else? Rebecca? Chelsea, do you have any questions or comments?
Yep, I would definitely be more than willing to go with a commissioner or two or three and just walk around the picnic wearing our name tags, because I believe that there's I'd visited with Heather about how we could be represented without the requirements and the everything that goes into the planning process because it's so short. I'd be more than happy to go there and visit, and I think I got a lot of shaking from Anna, so Anna?
Yeah, I'm in.
And we'll just go around and talk to people that are there. And Heather, I don't know if you can hear me, but if you want to throw on your regalia and walk with us, get us some attention, I'd appreciate that. Visit more later?
Well, I think we should still have a table. So, you know, we have people that will be able to sit there, you know, during that time. And plus, then we can hand out that. We've been sitting there for like 10 years. So I think and it doesn't take much, like Sharon said. candy, we can make and all we do is our brochures, introduce ourselves, we try to meet new people, natives that come into the community that don't even know we have a Native American Commission. So I think if we have a table and also you guys walking around being representatives, that would be great.
My only thing is that to have somebody lead the planning process with this short amount of time, I'm busy with some other planning that we have, and I know that we're all kind of a little bit stretched thin. So instead of dedicating our time and effort and trying to get this done really quick, what I could see is inviting the police department to our picnic and really focusing on bringing their presence to our people, because that's where we get the most of our community. That's one of our biggest events outside of the other events that we have, the New Year's Eve powwow. So I would really love to see us put our time, effort, and energy and planning into making this one of the biggest, best NAC community picnics, where we invite the Arts Coalition, the Human Arts Commission, or the Human Relations Commission, invite the PD and all of these other entities to our picnic, instead of focusing 2 weeks on just making sure that we have print material and volunteers to do the table and the walking around. So I would say I support whatever the commission wants to do. I will be there to volunteer, but that would be my thought process on it.
Yeah, there's not a lot of planning for this, and yes, I agree with, starting on the our picnic, which is like 2 months away.
August 2nd.
Right, so we got to start on that too, but I do believe we should be there with a table.
Anna, you have anything?
I'm with Chelsea. I'm spread thin just like everybody else, and it's such short notice, but I'm willing to do whatever the commission wants. So,
Heather, do you have any comment? And she may not be there anymore, so, okay. So I guess I'm just gonna ask everybody, if you want to do that, you can go ahead and do that. I don't know that we need an official vote. Just contact, if you would like to do that, just go ahead and do that. I think
Okay.
You're free to do that. If you want a table, then you can connect with the police and talk with them there. We do have some things that we can set up, the banner and those kind of things. But and then I did ask Chelsea to send me that paper. We need to get those printed off before, and that's about it. So is there any other report from the staff?
Report? Oh, the only thing is that we're waiting on the report back from Maylin for the strategic planning, and then we'll bring that to the exec meeting coming up. So,
is there a deadline for that report back from Malin? John, as always, thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
I think she was hoping that. She was hoping for the end of last week, so it should be here any day.
Okay, awesome.
Okay. The next meeting is July 2019, and so at this time we are adjourned. Thank you.